the indigenous belief virtually around the country was they did not have a concept of somebody dying of natural causes. They believed that if you died, you did so because somebody had put a spell on you. And they also believed that that spell had to be avenged. And so this created an engine of tit-for-tat violence between the tribes. The second problem they had was that girls were given away in marriage as infants. And then what happened, and Buckley makes this observation, that very often or nearly always the violence that took place was around possession of the female. And the girls would sort of wind up hitting, 12, 13, 14, and develop attachments to a boy who was not their betrothed husband, would go off together, and then this would be the source of violence. And Buckley recounts on one occasion a girl in the tribe having been taken off by a boy from another tribe, and the relatives followed them, found them together in the knife, and took the spear and plunged it through both of them into the earth. And
It's Aussie version of Romeo and Juliet.
yeah.
Is this where we're getting back to in this century?
Yeah. But this thing of giving the girls away at birth and then them getting into complicated relationships and then that having to be, meant this was a second layer of violence within the culture. And then finally, the Aboriginal women, according to Buckley, all carried the club, and and he was protected from the violence because he was this special person in the tribe. But he said absolutely routinely, the neighbouring, there would be some basis of dispute which would bring them into contact. The most common form of interaction was the smashing over the head with the club, with both the males and the females participating equally enthusiastically. And so even today, where we find, if you go to Darwin Base Hospital, the figures people don't really like to talk about is that Aboriginal women are admitted to Aboriginal Base Hospital with cranial fractures at more than 90 times the national average. Now, Aboriginal men are going in with cranial fractures pretty bloody often as well, but the point is this is actually a very, very old and ancient problem. So I just say to you, that's what was going on for 40,000 years. Then we can start talking about what happened after that.
I think just on that, I think a lot of people forget that, like, we're I don't know, I don't want to say soft, but we are very quick to jump on people for certain things, jokes, whatever it might be, comments. And these days we talk about safety and things like that. But for the majority of history, like, this story isn't unique to the Great Southern Land. The Mongolians, like it's everywhere. The Roman Empire, the Greeks, like our history as a civilization has just been war and violence. And then you have World War I, World War II, and then since then there's been this abnormal peace dividend or period of prolonged peace.
Yeah.
And there's still violence in Syria and in the Middle East and things like that. But it's not even close. It's by far the most safe time in history. So I'm sure that you're about to now come present day, but it's just it is crazy to me sometimes that how harsh we are. Like, it's unfortunately, I don't know if people want to admit it, but it's in human nature to be really, really violent.
Yes, well, this is your observation is absolutely right.
You're carrying a club mark in your car, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. They talk about the police being, quote, the thin blue line between, civility and barbarism. Regrettably, in Australia over the last few years, the police became the barbarians. But the human being tends to be, not that far away from the mob, and we see even online where the violence may not be physical, there is still, the mob. It is sometimes said that prostitution is the most ancient institution, but I suspect the mob predates anything. And, we are still mammals. We are Homo sapiens sapiens, which means something. What does the sapien mean in Homo sapien? But we are still mammals. And, Don Draper said that every seduction ends with an assault. And he's kind of, there's a sense in which we don't somehow, by consciousness, transcend our corporeal, physical, animal nature. We are still an animal. And indeed, when I said to my 12-year-old daughter, please use a knife and fork because you are not an animal. And she said to me, well, Dad, actually, I am an animal. And so are you. And I had to say, don't answer back, because there's no freedom of speech in this household. But the point is, you're dead right. And a guy like, for example, Steven Pinker, who was the great...
Better angels of our nature.
Yeah. And an historian of violence, indeed, he says that the Papua New Guinea Highlander, the Australian Aboriginal, are, in historical terms, the most violent of all. But let's be honest and say we're all on this. We're all there on the spectrum, and indeed, the Australian Aboriginal, leader might turn to me and say, "Well, you say I'm violent, but I didn't drop bombs on Syria, on Ukraine, on Afghanistan, on Libya," and NATO is arguably, in my opinion, probably the only tribe which is more violent than the Australian Aboriginal and the Papua New Guinea Highlander. But we're all capable of it.